Good morning, everyone. So again, my name is Caitlyn Buchanan. I'm a senior student affairs specialist in the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, which is an office under the Office of the Dean of Students. There are several offices that fall under the Office of Dean of Students. Today I'm going to talk about two specifically. We're going to be talking about the actual Office of the Dean of Students and the services that that office provides, as well as my office, which is the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities. In regards to the Office of Dean of Students, the mission, so the Office of the Dean of Students promotes a holistic learning experience through programs and services to develop students intellectually, socially, and ethically. We develop and implement services, activities, and opportunities that complete the student experience and enhance their adjustment and participation in college life. We form campus-wide partnerships that create a challenging yet supportive environment, preparing students to be responsible and engaged global citizens. I will tell you that a lot of times if you have a question about how to support a student, how to help a student, someone's going to tell you to contact the Dean of Students. So when we say we have campus-wide partnerships, we truly mean that. We are someone that you can call on at all times. So what does the Dean of Students do in regards to support services? The Dean of Students is a place to get answers, as I just said, to questions, learn about resources, and receive support. So it's essentially a place where students can be helped with a variety of things and be sent in the right direction. Specifically here, as it shares, we help with concerns, whether that be personal, financial, academic. We connect students, faculty, and staff to campus and community resources, provide support and advocacy, as well as absence notification. So that may be somehow one way you interact with this office. If a student contacts because of a grief notice absence or medical procedure or something of that nature, someone from the Office of the Dean of Students will be in contact with you. There's also an on-call team for after-hours emergencies. I'm one of the members of that team, and so there is one of us on call 24/7 throughout the entire school year. No matter what time of day it is, there is one of us there to be able to respond if there is an emergency. And there is no scheduled appointment necessary. The Office of the Dean of Students does have drop-in hours in Schliemann 207. Now, I will tell you, with COVID and everything like that, these meetings can happen from a distance. So students do not have to physically come to Schliemann 207. They can give the Office of Dean of Students a call. We'll have that contact information later on in the presentation. But your student can be walked there, or they can walk there themselves at any time during business hours to get assistance. So one big thing that the Office of the Dean of Students manages is the Student of Concern report. This is something you'll want to familiarize yourself with, as it is a way that you can get concerning behavior of a student reported to someone who can do something about it, who can support that student. The actual report is the link here. If you Google Purdue Dean of Students Student of Concern report or Purdue Student of Concern report, you're going to be able to find that form. Some of the behaviors of concern that are commonly reported by faculty, such as yourself, include disruptive behaviors in the classroom or off campus, if you are made aware of that, threatening words or actions towards faculty, students, or staff, again, in the classroom or outside of the classroom, online posting in social media or journals that are threatening, whether to self or to others. So that's something to be mindful of as well, is that any of these behaviors can be concerning about students making concerning behavior regarding who they are as a person and how they feel about that, or how they feel about other people. Uncharacteristic or extreme aggression towards others. Projects or papers that convey clear intention to harm self or others. So sometimes, depending on the assignment you are giving them, they may be asked to reflect on something personally, and that may come through. And that's something to be mindful of. Observed self-injurious behavior, such as extreme thinness, burns, or cuts. Suicidality, including threats, gestures, ideation, and known attempts of suicide. Now, I know that's a lot, and your training may be on a variety of a spectrum in regards to your comfortability to be able to confront that. I will tell you, if you go to the Dean of Students website, they do offer a variety of trainings related to noticing these behaviors and how to respond to them. Minimally, what we're asking you to do is, if you see this and you're concerned about a student, you make that report. So again, the Dean of Students staff can respond to that, get that student support that they need, and also keep them safe. So now onto the Office of Student Rights Responsibilities. So again, this is my office. This is where I spend all of my time. So what do? We review reports for alleged violation of the Purdue Student Code of Conduct. We administer student conduct cases as dictated by the university regulations. We determine appropriate educationally based sanctions. Sanctions are the quote-unquote, as I tell students, consequence or punishment in accordance with university regulations. as well as we provide presentations, publications, and other media to promote student learning and understanding of university regulations. So we handle a variety of different types of cases in our office. So we're going to handle academic integrity. We're also going to handle things related to drugs and alcohol. We are not going to be handling sexual misconduct, but we are your home for violations of the Protect Purdue Pledge. So just so you know, if a student ever asks you if I get reported for violating the Protect Purdue Pledge, they also come to our office as well. So specifically today, we want to talk with you in depth more about academic integrity, since you are faculty, and that's the most common behavioral concern you're probably going to run into that may end up in our office. We're giving you a brief overview of a presentation that we give. If you're looking for more information, we can give you a presentation that's more in depth about how to go address academic integrity in your classroom. And again, we'll have contact information at the end of this. But some quick tips about deterring academic dishonesty in your classroom. One of the biggest things that we've learned, especially as we've moved to this hybrid and online courses, is that you need to clarify expectations regarding academic dishonesty in your syllabus as much as possible. Outside of required, we know that there are required statements regarding academic dishonesty, but we really encourage you to specify it for the particular course that you are instructing. And make sure that you review this on the first day of class. Now, at the end of the day, if it's in the syllabus and it's a violation of the academic dishonesty policy, they'll be held accountable for that. But we think it's really important that if you address that up front, that's one more way that they're being informed of your policies. So some specific ways you can do this is address common problems for the course. So we know with one of our courses that we commonly interact with is Computer Science 159, and they have a lot of problems with students engaging in unauthorized collaboration in that course. So they have a pretty specific policy where they spell out these behaviors are okay and these behaviors are not okay. Clearly state what is and isn't acceptable. Again, especially if you're teaching an online course, we found that in the spring, students really took course policies loosely about what they could or could not do. Spell it out for them, so it's much easier when you have to confront those situations. Connect importance of integrity to discipline and to you personally. Additionally, determine and communicate your procedures for responding to issues of academic integrity. Now, we hope that you don't have to deal with an issue of academic dishonesty in your class, but there's a likelihood that that may happen. And so we encourage you to think through, if it does happen, what's going to be my response? Will there always be a standard response? Are we always going to reduce that assignment by a grade letter? Are we going to fail you in the course? And are you always going to report them to the Dean of Students office or our office in the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities? We really hope that you do, but at the end of the day, you are responsible for handling that in your course as you deem appropriate, and we really encourage you to think about that in advance instead of having to think about it in the moment, because it will help both you and the student better throughout that process. So let's say you have found a student who has engaged in academic dishonesty, or you're pretty sure that they did. What should you do? First, we encourage you to collect all the facts. So test materials, observations, software detection results, witness statements, whatever it is that you have. Meet with the student in question. That's at your comfortability level, as well as whether you're instructing an online class or in-person class. So is it going to be in person, over the phone, or WebEx? We encourage you to do this so that you can openly explain your suspicions to the student, give them the opportunity to respond. That's what we do throughout our process. So we always give the student the opportunity to respond before we make a final decision, because it provides us with further context. It provides us with further information. We also always encourage you that if you do have that conversation, that you document it. And you can do this in a variety of ways. Typically, we encourage you to send a follow-up email. So, dear student, today we met on October 15th to discuss this. This is what you shared with me. This is what I shared with you, just so you have a record of that. If it happens during an exam, so an in-person exam, which we do know are going to be occurring this fall, and will occur whenever COVID-19 has decided to go away, we encourage you to minimize the disruption in the test environment. So allow the student in question to complete the exam. We ask you to do that so that the other students who are in the course and aren't engaging in academic dishonesty aren't impacted by a disruption. We want to be fair to our other students who are engaging in good behavior. I also encourage you to determine appropriate grading response. If you're not sure what to do, consult with the course supervisor, department head, whoever it is that you would think could be a helpful resource to you. You do have the right upwards of failing a student in a course if you deem that appropriate for the situation. We encourage you to report the student or students in the incident to our office. We do encourage you to report it as soon as you can, because the greater opportunity for the student to learn from the situation happens when we get that report sooner than later. We know you all are busy folks. We are too. And so we know with it, sometimes you're not able to get it to as soon as possible. But if it happens in September, we don't want to hear about it in January, because again, that window of learning is kind of closed at that point. If you're not sure what to do, again, follow up with those in your department who are appropriate resources. You also can contact our office. We talk with faculty members every single week about incidents and how they should respond to it. We can't tell you what to do. We can tell you what are possible options. You can see our contact information there. You can contact us either by phone or email, and we'll be happy to help you. So if you do need to report an incident to our office, there are 2 ways that you can do that. First, you can use the Academic Dishonesty Incident Reporting Form. You'll see a brief screenshot that I took of our website there that shows report concerns. That is where all the university incident reports are. So the sexual misconduct reporting form, student of concern, the general incident report, and the one you want to use specifically for academic dishonesty is the academic dishonesty reporting form. You can also email concerns to integrity@purdue.edu. That's an email account that is maintained by our office, and we accept reports there as well. So you're making a report. What should you include? We encourage you to include as much detail as possible. The more detail you provide to us, the more helpful that can be for us in our process. What we ask you to include are the students of concern's names, their PUID numbers, names of witnesses or other involved parties. So if I took my friend's assignment, including my friend's name in there in the event that our office would want to speak with that student. Or if you had a teaching assistant that also viewed a student cheating on an exam, including them in there as well. It's just for us to be able to have as much information as possible. Give us a detailed description of what occurred. Some situations are going to be more complex than others. Some are going to be pretty simple. You ran their assignment through the software similarity detection system, came back with big red flags and a large percentage. That's pretty simple. Other things may be more complex, and we ask that you just provide as much detail as you can. Also, we ask that you provide information on how you're going to respond to the situation. That also gives us context as well. There are going to be specific questions if you choose to use the incident reporting form that are going to ask you a lot of these things. Then we also ask you to include any supporting documentation. So pictures of things, screenshots of text or group messages, that can be something that often happens, emails and other correspondence that you've had with the students, a copy of your syllabus, the student's coursework of concern, and then also data from Brightspace and Chegg. That is one of the biggest things that we have found with our shift to online courses that happen in the spring, as well as over the summer, is that we had a lot of engaging with academic dishonesty related to different things online, and you do have the ability to access that data. And you can submit that to our office as support. Again, this is a very brief version of a long presentation we do about academic integrity, so if you'd like to learn more, please contact our office. But including all this information does help our office. It helps us better determine what happened in the situation. And this is information we will share with the student. Students do have the right to review what's in their case file, so that's just something for you to know as well. So we have a variety of resources. These are specifically related to our office. The Dean of Students website is a huge resource. So if you simply just Google Purdue Dean of Students, they have several pages on there with a variety of resources. For our office specifically, you can see our website there. So we are purdue.edu/ODOS/OSRR. You can find everything that I talked about today on that page, with the exception of the information about the Dean of Students. You can find that on their page. There's also publications specifically related to academic dishonesty on our website, so more that you can read through. There is a student group called the Honor Pledge Task Force. So if you're not familiar with the Honor Pledge, that was something that was developed a handful of years back. And we have student group who, I wouldn't say enforce it, but they value it and they educate their peers on it. And they last year developed a resource about information by students, so by their group, for students regarding examples of academic dishonesty that students may not think of. That is on our website, something you can refer your students to. As I said, we do a variety of presentations, including a much more lengthy one on academic integrity. If there's more you'd like to learn, you can make a request on our website. And we did develop some social media. Not sure how you choose to engage with that. We did develop that over the summer. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. We'll be regularly making posts about academic integrity and a variety of other stuff, especially related to the Protect Purdue Pledge, since we are implementing that this fall. One last thing for you is, as I said, the Office of the Dean of Students office is We are a window of a variety of different other offices. So some that also report to the Dean of Students include the Purdue University Student Health Center, or PUSH, the Counseling and Psychological Services, or CAPS, Recreation and Wellness, the Center for Advocacy, Response and Education, or CARE, Fraternity, Sorority, and Cooperative Life, Parent and Family Programs, off-campus student services, as well as student legal services. So all these offices can support you in a variety of different ways. If you have a student of concern that you're needing assistance with, today we just talked about 2 of the offices that fall under the Dean of Students that are going to be probably most helpful to you in your role as a new faculty member. As I said, I was going to share contact information here at the end of the presentation. That is the Dean of Students' email address, as well as the phone number and their location, as well as ours. Both of our offices are located in Schliemann Hall. We are unfortunately in the basement with no windows. The Dean of Students is on the 2nd floor in that building. And we're there to answer, like I said, any questions you may have.
Thanks very much, Caitlyn. Some questions are coming in. The first is, in the Student of Concern report, it's going to depend on the kind of concern, but curiosity from the new faculty about what's the process that's followed. Will a student know who filed a report? And will the faculty member who files the report of concern be contacted, or does your office deal directly with the student?
Okay, this is all great questions. So in a student of concern report, it is going to ask you a lot of different questions. It's going to ask you about the student and everything like that. It's also going to ask you if you'd like follow-up regarding the situation. So you can note that. You can say, yes, follow up with me by phone. I'd like to meet with someone in person. I'd like an email, or I don't want any follow-up. So you get to choose that, and someone will follow up with you. My colleagues in the Dean of Students would tell you they're not going to say, hey, Caitlyn, Jeff Stefancic, that's my boss, he reported you to our office. They're not going to do that. Most of the time, they'll tell you that the student knows who probably reported them. What they're going to do is they're going to directly reach out to that student, whether via email or phone, depends on the urgency of the incident. They're going to reach out to them and say, someone reported you, we're concerned about you, we'd like to talk to you and see how we can support you. Depending on the incident, students are going to have different follow-up, but someone is going to get in contact with them within the next few days after you make that report to the office.
Let me just reflect on my own experience. This is Peter Hollenbeck. I taught a large enrollment course for more than 20 years, and I would routinely, if a student had missed 2 assignments in a row and then failed to respond to 2 emails from me about it, I would just send the information to our academic advisor in my department, because they often knew of the student and could deal with them. If they weren't sure, then they would forward it to the Office of the Dean of Students. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense. You may have a system set up within your own department that makes sense for you all. Certain people interact with students in a different capacity, so that's totally fair. What I'll say is the Dean of Students has a large team that responds to these reports all the time, so make those reports as you see them fit. They have a specific presentation just about students of concern where they can go into more detail about that. They do open presentations on that as well. If you go to their website, you can sign up for one of those presentations where you can learn more as well.
Here's a rather specific question.
Okay.
More than once, I have seen students with multiple clickers register lecture attendance for others. My inclination has always been a polite yet stern scold, but should I report this?
So this is part of our more detailed presentation. We tell you to anytime you have an incident of academic dishonesty that you need to report. So even the multiple eye clickers, that is something that we run into every single semester. We encourage you to report them to our office because we are the only ones who know what their full academic dishonesty history might be. A student might tell you that they've never been reported to our office before, and that may in fact be true, or that may in fact be very false. We have students who unfortunately are not honest about that pretty regularly, and if you don't report them to our office, they are not held accountable appropriately. Students might also tell you, you can't report me to the Dean of Students office because they do have prior history. I like to say they pull the guilt card. You don't want to be the reasons why I get removed from the university. At the end of the day, the student is responsible for their own behavior. You're simply just making a report.
Different sort of question. What is the process at Purdue for student disability accommodations, such as extended time, low distraction testing, and so on?
So unfortunately, that is not under our purview. What I would say is that they will need formal accommodations through the Disability Resource Center. We encourage them to contact them to get those accommodations. And the Disability Resource Center, unfortunately, would be a much better resource than me to be able to answer those questions.
Okay, thanks. Another question. I have requested in my syllabus that students not post course materials on external websites. But if this happens anyway, what resources are there for removing materials from websites like Chegg or Course Hero?
So it depends on the website. I will tell you that Chegg, if a student does violate a policy in your course or violate the university policy related to academic dishonesty, Chegg will get that information removed. They'll also work with you to get the data of who posted it, who accessed it, so that you can follow up with that directly. In regards to Course Hero, we haven't had as many issues with that, but I believe that they'd be willing to work with you there as well. It really depends on the website. Some websites, it just depends on what their terms and services are. I'd say Chegg has been our most problematic one, and Chegg is willing to work with us to get that remedied.
We've got one coming in. Let's pause for just a moment here.
Happy to wait.
No, our new faculty are apparently exhausted of immediate questions for you.
And that's okay. Like I said, we are here. We answer questions all the time. So you can also follow up with us directly if you have a specific question you want to talk to us about.